The city of Newcastle acknowledges the Awabakal and Worimi peoples as the traditional custodians of the Newcastle local government area. We respect their cultural heritage, beliefs, and continuous relationship with the land, and recognize that they are the proud survivors of more than 200 years of dispossession. Council reiterates its commitment to addressing disadvantages and attaining justice for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of this community. Hi, welcome. I'm Elsa, author and founder of Cultural Transitions Consultancy, which aims to train business and migrant communities on how to navigate cultural transition in a new host country. And this is our Everyone Has a Story to Tell memoir writing series. So in this course, you will have the opportunity to kickstart writing and sharing your story. This is specially designed for people of Cold background. The term Cold means culturally and linguistically diverse. Cold people may include asylum seekers and refugees. I am a migrant too, and when I wrote my story, I intended to share my journey of blending cultures in Australia with other migrants. So I am passionate about writing, and I would like to hear your story in this workshop. In this video, we will talk about the aims of the course, the structure of the course, as well as the requirements, expectations, and I will also release our very first writing prompt. But before we talk about the structure, the overall structure, let's begin by unpacking why this course. As I said before, the course is designed for Cold people, and the number of people of Cold background is increasing in Australia. For instance, in 2016, the Australian Bureau of Statistics indicates that there were at least over 300 separately identified languages spoken in Australian homes. That means it's more than 1/5 of Australians spoke a language other than English. And these languages include Mandarin, Macedonian, Italian, Arabic, and Spanish, to name a few. We all know that every culture has a story. So that's why we need more stories. We need different stories, we need different voices. And these voices, they do have the ability to help us understand our place in the world. Also, these stories, they can also help shape world perspectives, and they do have the power to pass down knowledge from one generation to other generation. So I strongly believe that Cold people need to be empowered, and writing is one way to do so. And this is also one of the key goals of our local library, to include voices and stories of all people in Newcastle, and in particular people of diverse background. Now, let's talk about the structure. So here's a few things you need to know in order to get started. Who can join this course? I'm glad you asked. Anyone can join. No writing experience is required. All you have to do is to register for the online Zoom meeting at the Eventbrite link next to where you found this video. And how the course runs. So the course has 3 key components. The first one is the instructional video, which is the one we're doing right now. Then we have the writing component, which is to be done on your own time. Then you have the Zoom attendance, which is once a week for 4 weeks, which is the duration of the whole course. So in each instructional video, I'll release the writing prompt for the week. I will also share some basic ideas, basic tips on how you can get started with your writing. And I will also update you on any upcoming events in the same video. So I would like to encourage you to write at least 500 to 600 words per week on the prompt that we have indicated for that specific week. Then if you are feeling a little bit disconnected because we are doing this online and we are not together, I would encourage you to join the Zoom. Zoom will be a great idea because this is a great opportunity to meet other writers that are doing the same thing on the same journey, and you can share your writing there too. So these Zooms will have different activities. Each week will be different. In one of the Zooms we will share some tips on self-publishing. We will also talk about the possibility of attending podcasts in our local library in Newcastle. We will talk about some other events such as Poetry Slam that the council is putting together to support this event. Sometimes we have a few guests in these Zooms too, but most of the time I will be your host. And as I said before, try not to miss them. So I hope this is clear now. We have so far presented the structure, the expectations and requirements. I think we're ready now to look into our very first writing prompt. Our writing prompt for the week is, who do you wish you could see again and why? I know writing can feel a little bit overwhelming at times. I've experienced that myself when I was doing my own writing for my book, Freedom to Belong. And I have learned a few lessons from the whole process, and I would like to share some of those tips with you. Tip number 1, remember that memoir is a written account of events, of meaningful events and moments that happened in your life. So they do not have to be presented in a chronological order. Chronological order, it is important, but I want you to focus on the moment, the event, and the meaning. Tip number 2, try to focus on one event at a time. That's why we release the prompt. The prompt should help you do that. It should help you focus on this specific task, which is the person that you wish you could see again. So in my case, I had to create folders and subdivide events and memories into individual pieces of paper, so I wouldn't cross and mix the ideas and the main messages that I was wanting to convey with the writing. So tip number 3, I think we all do this one. Don't overthink. Writing can be easy. Just take out a sheet of paper, try to write at least a few details. One way also is to use something called a mind map. What is a mind map? A mind map is a diagram that displays visual information. You can create a mind map using a pen of paper. So we will go through that. A mind map is a graphical presentation of the information you have. And this is how it looks like. In the center, you write, who do you wish you could see again and why? Draw a line. Number 1, who is the person? Is that a relative, a friend? And a relative could be mom and dad, a cousin, a friend or a schoolmate, a neighbor. Then you can take some time describing the person. You can go into the physical features that that are more prominent when you remember about that person. The next point you could look into is, where did you meet the person and how? Again, could be through a family connection or just through school or work. It will depend. Number 4, who was involved and where that happened. If it's not a family connection, could be through a friendship, school, at work, different places. And the last point is the why. Why do you wish you could see that person again? There are several reasons as to why you wish you could see the person. I have listed a few here that could help you with your writing. You could write about, it could be related to a, let's say, unresolved issue that relates with grief that you have experienced with that person, or comparison between two people that could happen. And could also be, you wish you could see the person again just to be able to say thank you, gratitude. It could also be that the person did coach you or teach you into the place you are now, and you just want to share an achievement. So again, there are several reasons. These are just some of the reasons you can use to help kickstart with your writing. So now I'm just going to share a little bit of who do I wish I could see again from the book. So this one relates to the trip from Johannesburg to Sydney. And on page 19, this is how it starts. My first stop was Johannesburg. And while I waited a few hours for my flight, I met a friend waiting for another connecting flight. So we had lunch together and we chatted about our trip destinations. The time arrived when he had to leave me behind to get his flight. And as he left, he gave me a farewell gift, which was really kind of him. And ever since, I have never seen him. It was my time to fly soon, and with mixed emotions, I boarded my second flight to Sydney, Australia. And this is the person that I wish I could see again. Why? To say thank you. He did something that he didn't have to do. So there we go. It's one example. I'm sure you have quite a few stories of people that you wish you could see again. Use the mind map as a guide. Feel free to add more elements to the mind map if you want to, if that helps you tell the story. So one way we could also add into this is that if you don't want to write under each of the themes that we have here, you can also use a voice recorder from your iPhone. You just speak and it will convert into a text. So that's another way. Tip number 4, be honest and genuine. Brené Brown says vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. So that means if you want to connect, you will have to be vulnerable. If you want your story to connect, you will have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And she also says that vulnerability is the path to the feeling of worthiness. If it doesn't feel vulnerable, the sharing is probably not constructive. Just remember this as you're going through your notes, as you are rereading and rewriting your own memoir. Am I being open? Am I being vulnerable? Because that's one way to connect. I promise it works wonders. I did that when I was going through my writing. Because it's really important that you be open as you write. It's also important that you are willing to drift and let your writing guide you, as opposed to you guiding the writing. This is where the magic happens. So tip number 5, this is when you are looking into giving a title to all your writing. One way to do this is to imagine that that experience is about to become a major motion picture. What title would that be? So another way to do that is to also add quotes that reflect or resonate with the main idea or the main message you're trying to express with your story. And the last one, I would highly recommend, reread your story. Check for vulnerability, check for openness, check for meaning, whether you're actually writing what you really mean. And once you've that done, bravo, you have the first draft, which is a possible treasure to pass on to future generations. And I highly recommend bring it along to our Zoom and share it with other writers. And that's it for today. Remember the 6 tips that we discussed today. And thank you so much for watching this video. Just before we go, I would like to recap what we talked about. First of all, we talked about the aims of the course. We talked about the structure of the course, as well as the requirements and expectations. And we've just released our very first writing prompt with some basic tips. So we went over 6 tips to help you kickstart your writing. And always keep this in mind: the truly liberating discovery about how to write memoirs is that you don't have to tell your whole story at once. So you just focus one event at a time. So next week, what I'll do, I'll release your next prompt to help you focus on one event at a time. And I do hope to see you on our Zoom meeting. Remember, Tuesday, 2nd of June, 5:30, 6:30 p.m. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be really fun.